Welcome to the Empire Files. I'm Abby Martin. Today I am thrilled to be joined by one of my favorite people, the actor Liam Cunningham. You may recognize him from a little hit show called Game of Thrones or The Three Body Problem. Thank you so much for coming on the Empire Files. It's such a great honor to talk to you.
I've been a big fan of yourself and Mike for a long, long time, so this is a real treat for me.
That is amazing to hear. So you were just in Italy with the Gaza Freedom Flotilla coalition as they
Mm.
were about to launch into this incredible journey. They are halfway to Gaza as we speak. Talk about why you felt the urge to take part in that specific action.
Very simply, Europe, the world, is not paying attention to international law. They are breaking international law. I've just been actually researching uh, on the Geneva Conventions, and we are. It is our moral, legal, ethical duty to intervene when there is a genocide, and if we don't, we are breaking international law. It's what we signed up for after the Holocaust, and our respective governments, your side, my side of the Atlantic, and all over the world, are not living up to their responsibilities. So it takes a disparate group of people, of humanitarians, to load a boat up and head for Gaza and do the job that the governments have shirked their responsibility over.
It's a wild world, isn't it, where you have governments not only skirting their responsibility, but actively participating, facilitating in the most grievous crime a state can commit, meanwhile threatening the disparate humanitarians that are coalescing to try to break this medieval siege, Liam. It's quite a topsy-turvy world we live in.
It's appalling. And the so-called the EU, while complaining to the regime in Tel Aviv that what they're doing is naughty, it took the dockers, as we call them here, longshoremen, to sideline about 14 tons so far of armaments that were being sent from France. And the dock workers have just turned around and went, that stuff's not moving. Talking, they're not only talking out of both sides of their mouth. If there was 11 sides to their mouths, they'd be talking the same. It's appalling. It's disgusting that these public representatives, the people that we pay to take care of ourselves and respect the laws, including international law, are not doing what they're paid to do. They're criminals. They're complicit.
They certainly are, and I don't know what's worse. I mean, you have Trump just totally green lighting all of this proudly, with Jared Kushner personally profiting off the settlements, and then you have Starmer, you have all of these politicians across Europe that are talking as if they are stopping helping facilitate it. But then you look at all the arms transfers, like you're saying, the shipments, all of the components are still being greenlit through, right? It's just the rhetoric from Spain, from all these European leaders. It's just absolutely egregious. And what I think is happening is I think that they're just starting to try to whitewash their own role. They want to throw Netanyahu under the bus so then they can maintain and protect their apartheid colony and wash their hands of the Gaza genocide, Liam, as it's reaching the final stage.
Yep. They're going to, and you know what's going. Here's what's going to. I would put money on this. What's going to happen to Netanyahu with the arrest warrants out against him is exactly what's happened to Duterte and Radovan Karadzic and Milosevic. Is that he won't be arrested. He'll be handed over as soon as his usefulness ceases. So yeah, his greatest mortal enemies are now going to be in the room with him now. And Yes, they are. I mean, it's disgusting that they treat the International Criminal Court and the ICJ as only for use for the global South, only for use for African dictators or whatever it may be. And as soon as the spotlight is turned on them, all of a sudden we need to get rid of it. It's the most utterly disgusting behaviour. And as you mentioned about all these European leaders and worldwide leaders who are treating the residents of their countries, their citizens, with the worst kind of condescension and patronising, and they are really they're treating their voters as if they're complete imbeciles. It's I mean the mask is off. We know who the enemy are, and the enemy is lives down the street from you in the form of politicians, self-serving politicians.
Exactly. Exactly. The empire has been laid bare, Liam. You were in the renowned show Game of Thrones. I mean, this was such a fantastical fantasy narrative where you
Mm,
had kind of these sensational, acts of sadism and torture and mass killing. And something that I've been thinking about a
mm.
lot is just Israel's acts of brutality, this spectacular sadism that they display. It seems incomparable not only to historical facts, but also to fictional stories like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I think one of the things is that art, one of its responsibilities is to hold a mirror up to society. And you're exactly correct. With when I was first approached about doing it, I actually said, "Well, I've done horses and swords and suits of armor and all that. I don't want to go back to it." And my agent insisted on me reading the script, and it wasn't until I read it that I realized what it actually is. And it's about the corrupting nature of power. It's about legacy. It's about paranoia when you are in a position of power, and it's about revenge and using your armies that you've been gifted as a leader to exercise your psychopathy, your psychopathic behaviors, and sometimes you need a fictional world to put that philosophy across. Um, I didn't expect it to become true so quickly. Uh, it was um, it was an incredibly responsible and beautiful piece of writing for the general public to maybe assist them in seeing what absolute power does to people. It corrupts, as the old saying goes. It corrupts absolutely. Um, but I didn't expect to be part of a flotilla in Sicily, waving goodbye to a bunch of smugglers who will smuggle humanitarian aid into Gaza. It was kind of ironic and beautiful to see at the same time.
Life does indeed imitate art, but I
Hmm.
mean, more disturbingly, I guess, just the medieval nature, right, of the barbarism, I think,
Yeah.
and having watched Game of Thrones and just feeling like this was a snapshot in this fantasy world, and then
Mm.
seeing things that I could never even imagine watching in a James Cameron movie.
You have to remember, I've always imagined my character, the Davos Seaworth character, and he was described by many media outlets as the moral compass of the show, which is great and a joy to play. But in fact, if you think about it, he was a very clever device that asked the questions. He was the audience in the show, and as you said, the amount of murder and sadism and mass murder in the show needed some balance. You can't just show this stuff and just have a free for all of violence. Even though on TV it's incredibly entertaining and wonderful visuals and all that, you needed somebody to go, hold on a minute, hold on a minute. We can't do that. If we do that, we are as bad as the people that we're trying to stop doing that. So it was very necessary from an audience point of view that you had somebody in the show who was a beacon of hope, who had a humanity to them. Um, Unfortunately, in the situation that we have in the Middle East at the moment, there doesn't seem to be any moral compass at all, which leads us to be very fearful for the flotilla, for the boat, the Madeleine that's heading there, because they are they have lost their conscience, they have lost their moral compass. They're morally bankrupt. So therefore, they're liable as psychopaths are to do anything, which is what makes us quite fearful.
And I think that speaks to just this desperation from, I think, humanity at large, the empaths, the humanitarians who are following this horrific
Mhm.
situation and saying, where are those voices other than people who are bravely putting their bodies on the line, whether it be the flotilla or the march to Gaza that we're seeing
Yes.
thousands of people right now actually mobilizing on the Rafah crossing. But then, to your point, just
Mhm.
vocalizing support for Palestine, expressing pro-Palestine views, or countering, narratives that are held by the political establishment and the
Mhm.
empire's servants, like kneecap. I mean, let's talk
Yeah.
really quickly about the climate of censorship in the UK, because here we have the First Amendment, which is quickly being eroded and undermined
Yep.
for various reasons, and a myriad of examples can prove that. But in the UK, it
Mhm.
seems to be so far off the rails, Liam,
Yeah.
that
Well,
it's quite dangerous.
yeah, it's kind of interesting. They're trying to intimidate. From what I can gather, because I'm going to be seeing them next week, and I know the manager Daniel, and I know the guys. I've had one or two small sherries with them over the last while. They are. It's purely intimidation tactics. Apparently, the so-called terrorist charges that Mokara is under is going to be looked at in the lowest court in the land. It's like
What does
one of
that
these small
mean?
claim. I think it's the low. I think it's the it's like a small claims court. It's like a 500 quid fine for so-called terrorist activities, waving a Hezbollah flag, who are in the elections in Lebanon next week. It's
Right.
it's it's so pathetic. It's absolutely ridiculous. And don't forget, NECAP have just announced another venue in the Wembley Arena. It's a very large site, and it's sold out in seconds. There is huge on-the-ground support, and the more these idiots try to dig their heels in and brush them aside, the more people are hitting the streets and the more people are speaking up for them. In Australia, when it was first announced, they announced a free gig. 10,000 people showed up on a very short amount of
Wow.
time to see the gig. We don't have trouble with the authorities. The authorities have trouble with us.
Well, it perfectly brings me to Miss Rachel because this is
Hmm.
someone who has been excoriated. This is a children's singer and entertainer. All she does is just sing songs
Yeah.
for kids and love
Makes
kids.
children happy. Yeah.
Makes children happy. Surely there
Mm.
couldn't be any reason to hate Miss Rachel, but of course, the parameters of this debate have gone so far that you cannot express empathy or sympathy
Yeah.
for Palestinian children,
Yeah.
Liam. You
Yeah.
cannot humanize Palestinian children, which is simply
Yeah.
all she has done. She has tried so far to not make political statements, to not criticize Israel, just say,
Yeah.
I love all kids. But
Yeah.
that's how extreme it's become. That's how necessary the dehumanization of children and babies is
They're,
to carry this
they're,
out.
the people who are doing the complaining are covering their ass. They know they've done something really horrible. And the only way is they double down. We know this. All the interviews you've done, I've seen them, the whole lot. When you attack them with facts, they double down. They don't want to do. Yes, they put ideology ahead of facts, put their feelings ahead of facts. And they don't want to deal with the fact that they've chosen the wrong side. And the only way to hide behind that is with bluster and pearl clutching and offensive talk. And the louder they shout, they think their argument becomes stronger. We know the tide is turning. We know what's happening with the youth. In a sense, geriatrics my age have been lost, and we have to rely on the ideals and the straight thinking of the youth, of students, of people in their 20s and 30s before they've been sucked in to the vileness of the capitalist system, if I may be so bold. Yeah, before they're owned. Um, and as I said, any sort of radical change has never come from the seat of government or because somebody thought it was a good idea. It's come from people standing up and going, "No, enough is enough. We want our ball back. You guys have been running with the ball and making a mess of things." And that's what it's going to take. We need voices. We need numbers. We need protests, and they've been going on wonderfully. But we need a multiple of them.
Well, exactly, Liam. And I guess my next question is why are there not more, outspoken celebrities out there? It's been almost 2 years. We're talking about 20
Yeah,
months into the most horrific thing we've ever seen.
yeah,
And here in the States, I mean, I know people personally represented by UTA, other agencies who are in Hollywood who have gotten personally threatened.
hmm,
Mike and I, who are pitching our new film about the US military's impact on the environment, speaking to Hollywood representatives saying, hey, I'm trying to pitch this. You need to take down everything that you've ever written about Gaza. I'm like, that's my entire life. What are you talking
yeah,
about? But it's
yeah,
just like, this is the climate. It is so extreme, especially when it comes to entertainment. And I just don't understand why it's working because for me humanity should speak much louder than potential career aspects because this is existential, Liam.
yeah.
This is the survival of our planet.
I agree. We're at a precipice. One of the interesting things, I mean, you know the old saying, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. These people who would have said that to you, you need to lose all the Gaza stuff and all that, they haven't had instructions for anyone, from anyone. They have. There's nobody in a black cloak whispering in their ear. They're fearful about they are fearful, and they are doing what they think they might be asked to do, or when they go to whoever and they go, well, look, I told them to get rid of the stuff. This is purely fear. And that's what they're running on. There's no cabal somewhere instructing all of Hollywood and whatever it is. They're fearful of standing up. What's astonished me, look, I'm refusing to lose my faith in humanity. But one of the things that has really disappointed me is the level of cowardice. It's not anybody having any power. It's they have brought out and fed off the cowardice of people who won't stand up. And as I said before, what are you going to say when your kids are 15? Or in my case, my grandkids grow up and turn around and go, "What the hell was this?" This is happening in 4K. It's on your screens. It's on every social media. Your only response to when your kid says, "I hope you did something about this," the response is going to have to be, "I didn't care." I'm not going to be one of those people that has to look my grandkid in the eye, my kid in the eye, and go, "I didn't care," because you don't have any other answer. You knew it was going on, and you did nothing. I mean, that level of cowardice is beyond me. I don't know how you can look at yourself in the mirror and not say anything, not speak up. And oh, isn't that awful when you see a TV segment? Isn't good enough. It's not good enough. And people need to get off their asses and stop this thing happening. And that's with numbers.
When you have been watching this, because I know that you've obviously been following this for decades, much longer than many other people. You've been involved in the pro-Palestine movement and struggle. I was shocked to see Israel go full genocidal and actually commit genocide in response to October 7th. I think a lot of people were shocked at the genocidal mania, even though we knew the writing on the wall. We all saw the slow motion genocide. When you saw this happen, were you shocked?
I think it's more worrying than that. They saw October the 7th as an opportunity for a land grab. That's as far as I can see, to the greater
Mm.
Israel, another step for the greater Israel. And whatever got in the way of that, I think they have no concern whatsoever. They are so unconcerned about the well being of their fellow human beings that it means the only way you can do what you're doing is to diminish the right to life of your fellow human beings. It's beyond appalling, and the reason they're doing it is because the rest of the world has allowed them to get away with it. That's it. The rest of the world is complicit. Um, their tide is turning, and I think one of the problems the rest of the world has is now they've seen it. I don't think they expected it to go as it is going. Is that they've painted themselves into a corner and they're finding it incredibly difficult to get out. And But they have to. And if it's got to take a movement of people to do it, and the boat going to Gaza at the moment, the flotilla, has got to be that. It's got to be a popular movement. We've more or less given up on our politicians. They're conniving, they're two-faced, and they're lying to their own people that voted them in. And they know they're lying. We know they know that we know they're lying, and they're still lying. Um, this is an assault on democracy as well, as far as I can see. It's an assault on the soul of the world, of humanity. And if it continues, every tin pot authoritarian wannabe dictator will feel that he is whatever he wants to do, he can get away with it because Israel did.
Have you lost work because of this? Have you been threatened at all?
No, absolutely not. There are no threats. It's the people who are
Mm-hmm.
saying, who are not saying anything, who are fearful of threats. I've been out here,
Mm-hmm.
I've been shouting against this for years and years. Nobody has ever said anything to me. Isn't it going to be ironic down the line when I was afraid to say something in case my career was affected? Well, why
Right.
didn't you try saying something and see if it was? It's cowardice.
Right. Right.
Chicken
Exactly.
shit, yellow back cowards.
Well, let's talk about your long career of activism. 40 years, Liam, you have been involved
Yeah,
in the
more or less.
pro-Palestine movement. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah,
What
but
was the impetus, I guess? Because it's always one, it's always kind of that spark is different for everyone.
oh, my spark was very simple. Ireland has gone through two genocides, right? In the 17th century, when the pig Oliver Cromwell came over with his new model army, he was here for 9 months, and the only thing that good thing about it was he actually managed to get malaria in Ireland and died of it back in England. So we did get him, but he left his new model army for 3 years afterwards. And these are British figures. They figured during those 4 years that the new model army, Oliver Cromwell's British army, wiped out 40% of the Irish population. That was in the 17th century. Cut to the middle of the 19th century, when we had a famine. We call it here romantically the Great Hunger, when we were under British occupation. There were 50 ships a day leaving the Ireland shore, bringing food to the UK, for shops in the UK, while the Irish population starved. We're the only country in Europe that hasn't recovered its population, because we lost 1 million deaths in hunger and another 2 million, 1.5 to 2 million, left our shores. Hence, you have such a large Irish American population in the States. And we had 700 years of occupation. So for any Irish person specifically not to have sympathy with the plight of the Palestinians, it is beyond redemption. We have huge sympathy because we went through it for 700 years. Um, so it's our duty to stand up for people who are in the same position that we are. And it's not about Palestinians, it's not about Israelis, it's not about Jews, and it's not about Muslims. It's about how we allow one group of people to treat another group of people. So any of this anti-Semitism bullshit is well gone. And anybody else, just a note. The use of the word, the G word, that everybody's worried about, genocide. If you're using the word, any of your viewers are using the word, and they go, no, it isn't, no, it isn't. A wonderful a Dutch media outlet, I'm sure you've read this, Abby, did a study of 28 separate studies on what's happening there at the moment. They spoke to, I believe it's eight, I could be wrong, could be six, of the top genocide scholars, Holocaust experts, historians, and quite rarely, every one of them, it was all unanimous. That was so. These are the experts who said this is genocide, at the very least, genocidal intent, genocidal violence. So I will go with the experts as opposed to the people who feel it uh, isn't a genocide. Because, excuse the language, but facts do not give a fuck about your feelings. And I will go with the experts on this. And two of the experts were Israeli, who came to this conclusion as well. So anybody else saying it isn't, to cover their ass because they chose the wrong side, um, is been just, please, over there, speak to the wall. I've no interest.
It has exposed a lot, not only the failure of these global institutions that have,
Hmm.
pretended to care about humanity and prevent things like this from happening, Liam, but have
Hmm.
actually been constructed to protect states that are committing them, the states that are subservient or part of the empire's, global apparatus of control. But on the flip
Yep.
side, contrary to that, you have this beautiful outpouring, this burgeoning explosion of consciousness that I have never seen before. I'm 40. I mean, the closest thing I've seen to it is during the Iraq War. I mean, the mass uprising during the Iraq War. But this seems different because this is an internationalist movement of solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Palestine that isn't directly connected to my government's invasion of a country. And so this is a very important moment. And I want to ask your advice for activists, people who are maybe new to the struggle or just feeling very disempowered at the seemingly insurmountable odds. Climate catastrophe, this kind of crisis of, humanity with the genocide and the precedent that it's setting moving forward. There's been moments before Sheikh Jarrah where this issue has burst out from the fringes, from the margins, but you've been working in the pro-Palestine movement for decades. You know how fringe this was, and now it is more mainstream, Liam, but people are still feeling like there is no way to beat this, and we're watching the genocide almost complete. I guess just give some optimism to people.
Yeah, no, listen, there's enormous reasons to be optimistic. Every march in Ireland and around the world, we can see, just go on. But it's not too late. If you said nothing so far because you didn't know it was going to become like it is, when you noticed that there was a massive violence against the Palestinian people, and you step back from it because it's one of those things. It's like rubbernecking a car accident on the highway. You look at it, but you don't want to, and you hope to God nobody's. But it's nothing to do with you. This is, and you brought it up there. With climate change, with faith in our political leaders, the mask is off. It's very depressing. It's much easier to go out with your friends and have a couple of drinks and forget about it, and hopefully it'll go away. Somebody else will take care of it. It's somebody else's problem. No, it's encroaching on everybody's life. The people that are, and I don't care what country you're from, looking at your own political representatives, and they are so 180 away from your concern for your fellow human beings. Remember them at the next time you get to vote. But get on the streets, stand up for people who have an enormous amount of injustice laid at their feet and are being murdered and systematically tortured and starved. You have to speak up. You're not a human being if you don't, because it's very simple. If you were in that situation, would you like someone to speak up for you? Even though it's gone on 600 days or whatever it is so far, and this horrific death toll, stand up, speak up. If you've got three social media followers, those three might have another 200. Speak to them. We need to get this out there. We need to get numbers. We need to hit the streets. We need to let our political leaders know they're not doing enough. They're shirking their responsibilities, and they're not doing their job. They're disobeying international law that the countries have signed up to, the Rome Statutes, the Geneva Convention. Make them do their job. Don't let them away with it. And you do have the power. Stand up and be counted. Speak up.
Certainly, you are doing exactly that. Liam Cunningham, thank you so much for coming on the Empire Files. Thank you so much for doing everything you are doing. It is incredibly inspirational to me, and I know millions of other people around the world. Thank you, Liam.
It's got to be done. Got to be done. Thank you so much, Abby.